Hello everybody, welcome. My name is Ogskive, you can call me Andrew, and today we're going to be doing something a little different. So far on this channel, I've been showcasing things about deck dads, gameplay, cards, and today I'm actually going to be showing you how I make an update to the game. Firstly, if you don't know about Deck Dads is a game that I made. It is a board game that is a combination deck builder and brawler, where you play as a dad and your goal is to knock out the other dads at the barbecue. And my friend Ben actually gave me some great feedback that I think that I'm going to be implementing today. It's less about gameplay and more about ease of use. Ben came in as a new player, watching my videos for the first time, and he was left with some questions and needing some clarity. So today I am going to be implementing his feedback into my game. So here is the crux of the problem. In Deck Dads, there are 7 different playable dads, each with unique mechanics. And to go along with the dads, every single dad has their own character board. Now, if you look at these character boards, you might notice something. Some are pretty good, like the Yard Bard here and the Grillmaster. They have okay character boards. Even without knowing the mechanics of the game, you can kind of see what's going on here. The Yard Bard's all about planting plants. The Grillmaster has this thing with a thermometer where you can make the heat go up and down. So there's some kind of, like, you can just kind of understand just by looking at it, but then, like, look at this. And look at this. You have no idea what's going on here. The visual language just isn't there for these dads, and it can be improved for all of the dads. So today, actually, we're going to be reworking these character boards and also implementing some new character art. That's right, I received an excellent piece of feedback that I should be giving a face to these dads. Right now, every dad is a vague, faceless kind of concept or category of a dad, but today I will be turning them into actual characters with images on the character boards so that it gives them just an extra spice of life. Let's pretend that's a real phrase. Anyway, even though I've never had any kind of formal art training or school or anything, I did do all of my own channel art and the art for Deck Dad, so I know what I'm doing a little bit. I'm also just the best to ever do it, so these are going to turn out on out. I have 3 dads for you here today, starting off with the Tech Wiz. Now, I decided to start with the Tech Wiz because, as you can see here, its board is pretty busy. So for the redesign, I wanted to take the busiest board and make sure that I can fit everything on it. This is the first of the 3 dads I'll be doing today, and I've prepared them all in Timelapse, so here we go. So the first thing I wanted to do was to separate the color deck with the play deck. So, because in Tabletop Simulator, there's a really annoying thing where you're trying to drop the cards into your deck and you accidentally end up putting them in the wrong deck. The next thing I realized is that they don't need to be a square. I went into Tabletop Simulator right before making this time lapse and figured out that I can actually make a character board of any shape I want. So the next thing I did is that I decided that I didn't like the teeny tiny tracker for your scrap. So instead I'm making this big dial. I'm not sure there's a way to do dials in Tabletop Simulator. Oh, and don't get it too attached to these numbers, by the way. Somehow, I don't remember, I accidentally delete them and have to bring them back. Yeah, I'm not sure there's a way to do tiles in dials in Tabletop Simulator, so instead, I think I'll just keep using like a token tracker that you move between the tiles, the numbers, to keep track of your scrap. The other bit of advice that I was given is to give some reminder text of the rules on the character board. So here I'm just having just a little blurb, just like if you're just looking at the Tech Wiz for the first time, you just kind of get a brief idea of what he's all about. He's all about making these passive bonuses. Part of the Tech Wiz being the most complicated character board, it is of course the gear. So I'm actually just offloading that off to these little holders on the top of the deck, so they no longer take place on the actual character board. They can just kind of sit out up there. Of course, I think right now I'm going to have to start moving things around because I do want to have character art on the board. And just giving little accents to really sell the Tech Wiz's personality with the glowing sign and the nuts and bolts, of course. Little scrap meter there, all done. Yep, now I'm just rearranging things really quick to make room for a little bit of character art. So that's not that I'm an artist at all, but I definitely struggle the most with making people, just because people you have an expectation about what they look like, so it makes it kind of hard to really sell it. So I'm definitely more proud of the board than I am the character art for this one. But I decided to make him a big egghead, which I think is funny because he kind of looks like the pawns that you actually use in the game. So that kind of sells it a bit. I gave him these big goofy goggles. Ignore now that his hand is backwards. You cannot, your thumb is not like that, and you can definitely not hold a screwdriver like that. I'll fix that in the final cut. Forgive me. And I wanted to make a little reference to one of his cards, so I'm giving him his calculator here. It feels like would be one of his favorite items in his possession. I made it say Dad for some reason. It doesn't have to make any sense. And I was just trying out some filters, and there you go. Final edit here. You can see I fixed his hand in his backward screwdriver. So yeah, I think that one turned out all right. Next up, we'll be redesigning the Grillmaster character board. I wanted to do the Grillmaster next because it's not something that needs a ton of major redesign. It mostly has the elements it needs. I'll just be updating it to bring it along up to snuff with the other dads. So let's see how it goes. I'm using the Tech Wiz board as a template. Now that I have it, I can kind of bring all the other dads in line. Once again, just adding this reminder text here. Not actually rules text, just kind of, if you're seeing the dads for the first time, it'll let you know that the Grillmaster is here to bring the heat. So yeah, I'll be keeping the thermometer thing going on, but I wanted to make it a bigger part of the board. I didn't like before how it kind of turned back on itself. I've never seen a thermometer that does that, so make it a bit more realistic. And you'll see in a second, I'll be, like I talked earlier about the visual language, just to kind of make it a bit more obvious. I think a thermometer is already pretty obvious, but I will be adding a color gradient and some extra design around the thermometer. There we go. To really, once again, send it home, the idea that this character is all about bringing the heat. Ignore some weird audio or visual artifacts here. I have no idea what caused those in the time lapse. So, yep, just making some big icicles. I forget to add them now, but later I will be adding some little snowflakes on that side of the thermometer as well. And the icicles also help to make the thermometer part of the board. On the other side, I'll be adding a big old flame, so the thermometer is not just floating detached from the character board. So yeah, the Grillmaster is a pretty basic board, so to kind of make it interesting, I'm adding a lot of accents like I did with the screws for the Tech Wiz, just to kind of make the personality. You know, he's a big fiery guy, bit of a hothead. You'll see here I'm not anything but a graphic designer. There's probably an easier way to line up all these numbers, but making a big black bar for them all to sit on and vaguely getting them in the center of their squares is the best I can do. So yeah, so my idea for the Grillmaster is that he's not entirely human. Every dad is kind of like a subcategory, so obviously the Grillmaster's main thing is that he's a griller, someone who grills. But his secondary kind of personality trait is that he's a little infernal, with his grill fire and his evil propane, and his deviled eggs. So he's kind of like a denizen of hell himself. He's made a pact with the devil to get the best fire for grilling his burgers. So I decided to give him kind of a jack-o'-lantern flame head. See what the other dads, I might not make them all entirely human either. As long as they still look like a dad. Like see here, he's still got his apron. He's still got his grilling tools. So there we have it. In the final export here, you can see the snowflakes. And I like this one a lot. I think I like how I made the Grillmaster. He's like a big beefy guy, and that kind of lines up with his gameplay. So pretty proud of how this one turned out too. Lastly, we have a dad that is quite the opposite of the Grillmaster in Father. And in my opinion, this is the character board that most desperately needed a glow up. I mean, look at this. Like, if you've never played Deck Dads, to you this is just a pink rectangle with 3 other rectangles in it that mean absolutely nothing. So we have nowhere to go but up, and let's get into it. So once again, starting with the template of the Tech Wiz I made earlier, just switching things up a bit, changing things over to a nice pink for Mr. Filer. So Filer's whole thing obviously being assimilation. I want to try to make that come through in his character board as much as I can. Starting off here will be his altar. I want that to be a nice, big, prominent part of his character board because Filer's a really very simple dad gameplay-wise. He kind of has his one thing on his character board, so might as well make it big and powerful and prominent. This altar, of course, is for his cached card, so let's make it nice and clear which card he has cached at any time. Raise it up above the rest of the board, trying to give it a nice marble aesthetic. Trying to make it look as much like a display piece as possible. Really comes together nicely. The little details and the cracks and a little bit of shading and all that. Yeah, I just love how that rendering really... Oh, and the drop shadow. Love it. I spam that everywhere I can. I try to make a little, look like there's an indentation in there, but eventually I just decide, hey, that's fine. Flat-topped altar. Next, I think I'll be adding some curtains. I want to make it look like this is a place of worship where Filer can be giving a sermon to his loyal masses, all of those that he's assimilated into his cult of personality. So might as well add some of his loyal fans that'll all be paying attention to his sermon, ready to be assimilated. And for the man himself, my wonderful girlfriend had a great idea that I should give him a big tall candle hat. So that'll be the first of 3 cards that I'll be referencing in his design from his cards that he can use, obviously. First being the candle, which I guess now is canonically something that he wears on his head. Oh yes, I wanted to give him some hypnotizing, spooky, you'll do as I say kind of eyes. So he has some kind of mystical power of enchantment that he can use to hold sway over people. Secondly, of course, his robes. Who would a masterful preacher be without their very special robes? And lastly, maybe his most iconic card of all, his scripture, which I have in this little book here, and hopefully a non-denominational mark there. If the diamond does mean something, I didn't intend for that. It's just meant to be a fun little symbol. And there we go. Much improved, I'd say. I mean, couldn't get much worse, but I am now a big fan of this character board. Alright, that's the last of the 3. There we have it. There were the 3 character boards I've redesigned today. I've imported them into Tabletop Simulator just to get a little look. I've staged a little game here, just to kind of get a sense of what these character boards might look like when you're having an actual game. Father, the Grillmaster, and the Tech Wiz. Let me know which one is your favorite down in the comments. I'd love to hear. Every time I get a chance to practice my art, I love doing so. I love doing so in a way that I get to share with people who will also get to enjoy it. Of course, I need to do another video like this because we still have these goobers in need of a facelift. The difference is night and day, between this, which at least could pass as something that somebody spent some time on in an amateur hour over here. I can't believe I've been playing with these boards for over a year now. The difference is night and day. So if you have any ideas for these character boards, I would love to hear them either in the comments or on my Discord. Those, of course, being the Deadbeat Dad, Mr. Outside, the Yard Bard, and Private Pops. Any ideas for their character art or how I should be setting up the character boards, I would absolutely love to hear it. Anything you have in general, feedback for Deck Dads, I am all ears, believe me. This is my favorite thing in the world to talk with people about. This is something I've spent a lot of my time putting love and effort into, so sharing that with people is just a wonderful thing for me. Yeah, doing these character board redesigns really makes me want to go back and change some art of these now old cards. Whoops, don't mind that. So yeah, I hope you had a good time watching today. Play Deck Dads. If you have Tabletop Simulator, it is free on the Steam Workshop. I'll link that in my Discord in the description. And let me know what you thought about this video. If you enjoyed, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps me a ton. And thank you so much for watching.